Hello. So I wanted to talk about this game right here. I want to talk about this game right here, Dungeons and Dragons. Except I don't. I'm a liar. Cause honestly, I want to talk about this. This game, Dragon Quest, I started playing when I was 6 years old. It was my first tabletop game. Um, it's it's complicated. I have a complicated relationship with these two games. So Dungeons and Dragons is very rigid. So many different classes you can play, right? And I mean, even in we're talking 3.5 anything, you can really get granular with the finer details of what you want your character to be. You can multi-class and really make yourself into whatever you want, but not like you can with Dragon Quest. I mean, not even close. One of the things about Dragon Quest that was so pertinent to me and what made me want to keep using this system even after, because as I said, I started playing when I was about 6 years old. And yeah, I played 3.5. I played everything. I played fucking. I don't know. I can't think of an RPG system that. I mean, there's two really that I would like to play that I've never played. Well, three really. Maybe even four. There's a lot out there. But to say that I haven't played maybe four of them is pretty crazy because there are so many. Um, the ones I would like to play, I haven't played yet. Are let's see, it'd probably be something like Fantasy Flight Games is or no, that's they make the models. We're talking the Star Wars ones. I haven't played any of the Star Wars RPGs. I heard they're really good. They have like this weird narrative dice thing. Um, I haven't played any of the Numenera games. I would or not Numenera. It would be it would be Numenera, wouldn't it? Um I haven't played any Cyberpunk. I would like to play that. It has like it seems like it has really interesting gunplay, and I like the idea that I don't know, it's a different universe. It's not fantasy per se, but so the thing about this system that I liked so much about it more than D&D when I was a kid, at least, what really stands out to you at first is it's this right here. So the thing is your stats are a lot there's a distinction to be made between two different statistics or character or not statistics but character stats um, that it's really important to me, and I would imagine it'd be really important to you if you're the type of granular, crunchy kind of player that I am, and that's agility and dexterity. Because we all know that they're not the same thing, right? But for some reason in games, we tend to attribute them to the same thing, right? Like being dexterous, which let's look up the definition of dexterity right here. Dexterity. Let's see. Nope. Dexterity. Okay. Skills in performing tasks, especially with hands. So that's the thing. When you refer to being dexterous, it has everything to do with your digits. It's your and it even is called in Dragon Quest. It's called your manual dexterity because it's your motor functions, right? It's about how good you are at doing things with your hands. That's what dexterity is. It is not agility or how agile you are. When people think of characters with high dexterity, they'll think of like a Legolas type guy, right? But that's not the case. Someone with high dexterity would be like a thief who's like really good at like picking locks or doing small things with their fingers, right? But we just attribute it to the same ability because for some reason Dungeons and Dragons has since I don't even know for forever, right? I don't even think in AD&D there was an agility stat, but in this game there is, right? And that's what determines your movement speed. And there's all these different things in this game that are so I don't know. It seems almost more advanced to me. It has its own issues. It's not perfect. There's lots of problems. I mean, for instance, another interesting thing about Dragon Quest in particular is that there are no classes. I mean, we could scroll through this whole thing and there's not really a single class. But it does have casters and non-casters now. Um, it's a simple distinction. It's whether or not you can cast magic or not. What is cool about that though is that anyone who can cast magic, instead of making a wizard in D&D or a bard or a sorcerer or someone who would be able to project magic in that way, and it's hard to define these granularities to someone who's never heard of the game. But essentially, you don't you don't pick your spells at level 1 or level 2. There's no spell slot systems. It's not. I believe it's. I can't remember what the fuck it's called. It's some sort of casting. Let's look. I think it's Arcadian casting. Arcadian casting. Let's see. What type of spell casting is D&D? I don't know. I can't fucking find it. It's not. It's really not that important. But more important. So everybody knows about. You have so many spell slots per day or whatever. That's not how this system works. Casting costs a little bit of health, like a little tiny granular little bit of health. But everyone everyone has as many. If you're a caster, obviously, has as many casts as they'd like. Right? Anybody can cast whatever spell they want, however many times. There's a backfire system, and backfires are really nasty. So like you don't want to fire off spells like crazy, because if you are not ranked in those spells, and that's another thing. So you don't like gain new spells every level. There aren't even levels. It's literally just experience. Instead, you choose the spells that you'd like to level up, right? So, for instance, we're in Bardic Magics right now. Let's say we'd do Enchant Instrument, right? There's a hundred experience multiple, right? So that's the amount of experience that you would have to spend. Um, every it's fucking complicated, but basically that's the amount of experience that you'd have to spend going from rank 0 to rank 1, right? And it multiplies itself, and there's all this bullshit that you have to know, but that's not important. What's important is that you can rank up in individual spells, as opposed to D&D where, oh, I'm level 5, I get a new lightning bolt, or not a new lightning bolt, but a little bit, everything is more powerful and I can just choose from those specific spells. No, you have to have, and you can only cast, at least in Dragon Quest Raw, you can only cast spells from your college, and that's another thing. So like, it makes people feel much more unique, because there's like 12 different colleges of magic, and each of them are something else, right? So if I wanted to play like a fire mage in D&D, right? Like, yeah, I could do that, and I could play, this sorcerer who can just blast off fireballs left and right and nothing else, right? But what if I wanted to be, an illusionist or something? Yeah, I could do that, but I'm allowed to do other stuff. And in game design, it's just not that good of a practice to, it's nice for players to have choices, but Dungeons and Dragons especially is made unique and is made flavorful by what your players can't do. It's good for you to be able to do some things, but you should never be able to do everything, because that takes away from other players' agency. It takes away from other players at the table when they're sitting there and they're like, "Oh well, Jim can cast every fucking spell in the game, so what the hell am I useful for?" In Dragon Quest, that's never the case. Everybody needs to choose what college they're doing, and they can only cast that college. Now, there's been several iterations of this game by so many fucking people. Just like D&D, I mean, you know, there's so many different versions. I'm working on a version. I'm trying my best, because this game is so special to me in every regard. I mean, I've been playing Dragon Quest, as I said, since I was 6 years old, and it has a lot of problems. It's got probably more problems than D&D does, and that's one of the reasons why nobody plays it, right? But what it does right, it does so well that it I'll sit at a table and we'll be playing something else, right? Like when we're playing Starfinder or we're playing Pathfinder or something, it just doesn't feel as immersive. And anyone who's played Dragon Quest will pretty much agree with you. It's just not the same. I mean, in Dragon Quest, you rank up in your like if you look here, look at this fucking table. There's over there's over these are all different weapons, right? There's over like 100 different melee weapons and shit like that, right? But you need to rank up in each specific weapon. It almost feels more like you know how let's use a video game for example. When you're playing like Oblivion or something, right? And or like Skyrim, you guys know about Sky. Every kid knows about Skyrim. Um, you do that thing and you level up in it more, right? So you can really customize the hell out of your character in this game beyond belief. It's almost too much for most people, and that's a lot of the problem for some is that you kind of get overwhelmed by this ability to really granularly create this person, and you can fuck up really bad. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to work on. But it's interesting to look at other systems sometimes because everybody's played or not 3.5, but most people have played 3.5, I would imagine, but everybody's played 5th edition. Everybody. Another interesting thing this game has over Dungeons and Dragons, and this is one of the things that when I was a kid, I fell in love with immediately. I'm gonna try to find it here for you. It's called the Grievous Injury Table. So some games have these, but none. I've never seen anybody do it better than Dragon Quest. Never, ever. If you look here, so basically, when you get a critical injury, right, in D&D, when you roll 20 and everybody at the party is like doing the poggers face and shit, it's pretty exciting because this triumph has happened, and a lot of times like it'll be at this critical moment where you really need that 20, right? But it pales in comparison to a Grievous. In D&D, you roll 20, you deal double damage, right? Or your critical multiplier or whatever, or you succeed, or it's max hit dice, whatever the hell, right? But in in Dragon Quest, you're doing something real nasty, right? Like look at this. Bad luck. Your secondary hand has been severed at the wrist. Take 2 damage points to endurance immediately, which two damage is a lot in this game. It's not that much, but the thing is it goes direct to hit points, like the entire hit, right? So a lot of times if you roll a Grievous, that person's likely dead. But it's the severity of what happens, and it's like, for instance, here's a good one. There's one that you can smash tissue. You can blow somebody's shoulder out. You can smash their hip. You can really like mess people up. I mean, look at this one. You could just you can stab through someone's eye, and then into their brain. Right? You can do some crazy shit that maybe if you have a good DM, he'll narrate these things for you without the system allowing for that, but or not allowing for that, but catering to it. But I mean, it's not the same as when you roll on the table and the game tells you that you've ripped this guy's shoulder open into their neck, and then their head is severed and their corpse tumbles to the ground, right? It feels so much more satisfying when the game is telling you that, as opposed to your GM. And your GM can spice stuff up and make it feel better for you, but it's just not the same. um there's so much else, but that's all we're going to cover today. I got a lot to talk about, but that's it today.